Tonight on Joy News Prime, Acting Inspector General of Police directs deployment of specialized teams to the Ashanti and Eastern regions to assist with investigations into the deaths of 2 police officers in 12 hours. The police is meanwhile appealing for more public support in its quest to fight crime.
We are all now involved in patrolling the area during the night.
The president is on the case of regulators of the banking sector for the crisis that's seen the collapse of a number of banks in recent years.
Bank of Ghana in the years before had acted responsibly and dealt with some of these issues like they should have. We've never have got to the situation where we are now.
He's also assented to a law which will see persons engaged in illegal mining face prison terms of up to 25 years.
We're talking about minimum sentences of 15 years, maximum 25 years. We have increased the punishment for foreigners who intervene.
Car Powership expected to receive gas for electricity generation within 4 weeks.
It's quite a complex project, but what is interesting today, and everybody can see, is the fact that finally we have relocated the car power from Tema to Takoradi.
And in business,
receivership for collapsed financial institutions once again appeals to depositors to exercise restraint as thousands continue to besiege defunct branches demanding their monies.
And Emmanuel Abajuyafi will be here with the business news in about 30 minutes. I'm Israel Lai, and Joy News Prime comes to you live from the Joy News studio. I could come here in Accra with digital address GA0992539. Stay tuned in. In our very first story, the Acting Inspector General of Police, James Opong-Buenu, has directed specialized teams of investigators from the national headquarters of the Criminal Investigations Department to support the regional command to investigate 2 cases speedily and beef up security in relation to the recent murders of police officers. And we'll bring you the statement in a bit. So here we have it. 2 police officers have been killed at Manson Kwanta in the Ashanti region and at Chimsredru in the Eastern region, respectively, between 6 p.m. of Monday, August 19, 2019, and 6 a.m. of Tuesday, August 20, 2019. That's within 12 hours of each other. The Acting Inspector General of Police, Mr. James Opong-Buenu, has directed specialized teams of investigators and operations from the national headquarters to support the regional commands to investigate the 2 cases speedily and beef up security. Meanwhile, police hierarchy is proceeding to meet families of the affected officers to commiserate with them. Personnel of the affected police commands will also be engaged. Now, further, the police administration assures that it will deal with anybody or group of people who attack police officers. It also assures the general public that police will continue to protect law-abiding citizens and residents in accordance with its constitutional mandates. Police is encouraging anybody with information related to the killing or death of the officers to report to the nearest police station or call the emergency toll-free numbers which they have given as 191 and 18555. It continues. Persons with credible information can also send emails to the police through hq.pro@police.gov.gh and ads or PADPHOTOPOL@gmail.com. And it's signed by Sheila Kese Abeye Bachman, who's the Director of Public Affairs. Now, joining us on the line now is Dr. Kwesi Ening, is the Director, Faculty of Academic Affairs and Research at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Thank you very much, Doc, for making time to speak with us. Now, we're hearing of these deaths within 12 hours of each other. Is it a cause for worry?
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Ening, if you can hear me, thank you very much, first of all, for making time to speak with us. I'm asking if we are to worry about the deaths of these police officers within 12 hours of each other.
Well, I think we are to worry very much about these developments, but it's not just about the police officers. You know, there's been a serious chief or a very senior chief who has been killed in the Ashanti region. From the rumors I'm hearing, some deputy minister was also attacked on its way down south from the north a couple of days ago. We are seeing a spreading out of firearms-related violence. And this relates to several dynamics. One relates to the easy availability of unregistered guns in Ghana, in which we've become an entry port for further smuggling. Number three is the acceptance of the everydayness of violence in our language, in the way that we behave. And the third, once more, is the weaponization of just about any tool that people have access to. Now, over the past decade, officers of the Ghana Police Service and their buildings have become almost legitimate symbols for attack. And there has not been consistent, response. So over time, police officers and their stations are routinely attacked, bent down. Police officers insulted, threatened. A couple of weeks ago, we saw even legislators threatening and abusing police officers. Okay, now what happens when you abuse, threaten, attack, murder a law enforcement officer? Is that the response must come from the armed forces. Okay, so we are increasingly reaching a stage where we are getting to the tipping point, where the police officers, the law enforcement officers, who should be the front line in preventing crime and protecting lives and property, are unable to do so because the sheer number of attacks and threats against them are so many that they just can't deal with it. So this is a very dangerous situation that we are looking at. And as I said earlier on, it's not just about the police officers.
Yeah.
It's about ordinary people. I mean, the murder rates in this country are also going up.
All right, you describe it as a dangerous situation, and I know we have had conversations about these in the past. What would you advise can be done in the interim or in the short term? Because some of the issues you're raising are more like require long-term solutions. What can be done?
Oh, no. Israel, you and I have been talking about this for 20 years.
I know.
20 years ago, I was told it was long-term. 20 years after, I'm being told it is long-term. No, there's no long-term, short-term, medium-term here.
All right.
Everything I'm saying is now.
What would you advise should be done then?
Well, that advice is my consultancy, so I'm not going to talk about it. Because you see, you and I have spoken about this for 20 years.
Yes, we have.
Nobody listened. I was perceived as the bad guy who says things that seeks to frighten the population. And now the fright has come to live with us.
All right. Doc, would you be kind enough to give us some consultancy, as in the citizens, on what we should do?
That's also my consultant.
Doc,
so if Joy FM were to ask me to do them a paper as to the specific steps to respond to this challenge, well, I've been talking about this for 20 years.
Yes, you have.
And 20 years, we've just refused to listen.
All right.
And thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kwesi, for actually making time to give us some of your consultancy right now. We're joined on the phone line now by a police officer who prefers to remain anonymous, and he's going to be speaking with us about the feeling amongst officers following these incidents that have happened, or the deaths that have happened in recent times. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us, or for coming forward to speak with us. I know you usually wouldn't, but I'd want to know, what is the feeling amongst your colleagues?
It's been a good evening to your listeners, and thanks for the opportunity. Yes, it's been kind of a very somber mood in the police currently, as all platforms are discussing this kind of issues. And it happens to be like some kind of ritual every now and then we have to come and talk about police officers who are dying in line of duty. Unfortunately, not so much is being done to protect the ordinary police officer as far as some of these things are concerned. But then, that is the situation we're confronted with. So, we are in it somehow.
Now, you say that not much is being done. What would you want to see being done by the administration?
Look, Israel, look, these issues, even in advanced countries, you cannot completely bring it to an end. Definitely some police officers will have to die in line of duty. But then measures are taken in place. Measures are put in place. They secure them so well, so that these things can be reduced to the barest minimum level.
What are you talking about here? Body armor?
Yes, body armor, ballistic helmets. All these things are needed for the ordinary police officer to be effective and efficient on his job. You can't put a police officer...
Is it the case that you don't have any at all, or they're not enough to go around?
Even if they are there, they are in limited supply. Even if they are there. And how many police officers do you see them on vanguard? Do you see them going on patrols with these things? And some of us have been speaking about this for a very long time. It has become an issue. But look, they are people, they are human beings. The state has to protect them. They ought to be protected by the state. Anyway.
All right, thank you very much. Would like to end the interview here, but we're moving on and staying with the story. Police in Kumasi, they have intensified search for a spiritualist suspected to be linked to the killing of Otumfuo Subchief Asamponhene Nana Afuduro. The suspect, identified only as Alaji, is said to be the spouse of a prominent queen mother in the Ashanti region. Police sources say he was spotted in a vehicle alongside that of the slain chief hours before volunteers found him dead with multiple stabs in his burning vehicle. Investigators have since tried to get to the, but to unsuccessfully to get to the people involved. We have a report on that first.
It belongs to one of the groups that is called Manyure Feku or Manyure Division. And within the Manyure Division, a lot of important chiefs are put together to form the Manyure Feku or the Manyure Division. And they are roughly about 24, 25, of which Asamponhene is one. And is not just one, but one of the most important people within the group.
The killing of Asamponhene, a prominent sub-chief at the Menchia Palace, comes as a shock, not only to Asantehene, but the entire nation. It is the second time in 10 years a prominent personality linked to the seat of the Golden Stool has been killed under such mysterious circumstances. Asantehene's spiritualist with the Nsumankwa Division, Openin Akosa, was shot to death by unknown assailants at Atafua in Kumasi in 2009. 3 people, one of them, described by police as a confidant of the late chief, have been picked up while police search for more suspects. Menchia Palace is yet to publicly comment on the brutal killing of the once chief driver of Asantehene. Mr. Safo Kantanka, however, says Otumfuo is hard hit by the incident.
It will hurt him a great deal. He's not just a chief. He is somebody very close to him. Even before the person became a chief, he was his chief driver. So imagine somebody, your chief driver you trust most, who has also become a chief, whom you trust most and therefore protects you. Of course, nobody needs to be told that it is one of the pain of Asantehene. That is to tell you that he is important.
Mr. Safo Kantanka says the departure of Asamponhene, who performed specialized role to protect Asantehene and the Golden Stool, leaves a void at the Menchia Palace.
Well, Asamponhene is one of the most important chiefs within the palace setup and within the Ashanti kingdom in general. Now, he is one with whom the king has dedicated or delegated to some special duties. And one of his special duties is to protect the Golden Stool. But I can also say a vacuum is created because of the way he does his things. It is very difficult for two people to play one single role perfectly well the same way. So the way he does his things might not be the same as the one who would take over. That is where a vacuum can be talked about.
From Kumasi for Joy News, Ohimi Ntewia reporting.
And Ohimi Ntewia, who is with the security desk here at Joy News, he's joining us via Skype with the very latest on this. Now, Ohimi, what more can you add to this story that is quite troubling, apparently, in the Ashanti region especially?
Yes, Evans, the police administration, the regional police command says they are picking important leads, and these leads has led police to a spiritualist identified only as Alaji, and they suspect that this Alaji, who was seen in the company of the late chief on Sunday, probably can help in the police investigations. But unfortunately, efforts to trace him to his house and to reach him on his mobile phone has not been successful. But police says they are doing everything possible to get him, even if they have to declare him wanted in that regard. They will do just that. What we do know is that this Alaji, police says, owe the late chief a huge amount of money that he has refused to pay over time. And the chief, at a point in time, had to petition the Ejura Ahine to impress on the Alaji man to pay this debt, but all to no avail. So on Sunday, whilst the wife prepared breakfast for him, he just left home with the information that he will soon join the family. But about 2 p.m., they heard news of his sudden death. So that is what the police has been saying. But the family also says they back police to also involve the Alaji in this investigation, because this Alaji man, the family is aware of the debt that he owed the chief. And then besides this, on Sunday, he was first person to get to the Confanoche Teaching Hospital's mortuary when the family got there with after news of the chief's death. So they suspect that probably the chief might have a hand in the death of, Alaji might have a hand in the death of the chief Israel.
All right, thank you very much, Ohimi. But before you go, what's the very latest on the killing of the death of the policeman? For which reason we know that the IGP or the acting IGP has dispatched some specialized teams to come to the region to support. What do you know about what actually happened?
The police officer has been identified as Corporal Bernard Entry, stationed at the Manso Nkwanta police station. What we do know is that about 8 p.m. yesterday, he left home to escort some Chinese miners in the area. And this is something he has been doing, we are told, for quite some time now. Anytime the Chinese needs his assistance, they call on him and he escorts them. But just at the mining site, when they were about to leave the site, the armed robbers, armed with AK-47 assault rifles, fired from behind and killing the police officer in that process. So the regional police command says they have begun investigations into the issue. But at a point in time, there were conflicting reports as to where exactly the incident happened. Some accounts say the officer was killed whilst on his way to the mining site in the company of the expatriates. Some also say that he was actually killed exactly at the spot. I mean, the mining site, that's where the incident happened. But today, the regional police command has scheduled a press conference, but unfortunately, the press conference was postponed indefinitely. Right. They had expected to address the issue, Israel.
All right. Thank you very much, Ohimi Ntewia. And Ohimi Ntewia is with the security desk here. Joy News, staying with issues having to do with security. The Ghana Police Service says public support for its work must improve if the men and women in uniform are to succeed in fighting crime in the capital. Greater Accra Region Police Commander DCOP Frederick Edu Enim says crime can only be curbed if people give the police credible information on criminal activities. He was speaking at the launch of a police news magazine at the Greater Accra Region Police Headquarters in Accra.
The police publication focusing on the Greater Accra region is intended to bridge the communication gap between the general public and the police service. The first of its kind, the magazine is also aimed at creating alert community members who will inform the police of suspicious activities of strangers or even members of the community. Crime rates across the country are still on the rise, and the police say they need to act swiftly before the situation gets out of hand. Accra Regional Police Public Relations Officer DSP Efiatenge says this magazine should inform the public about how the police operates and their own duty of ensuring safety at all times.
The police diary like this, we don't want to create a vacuum, in the information space. What we are looking at is to analyze the trend crimes within a period of about 6 months, and definitely within the period of 6 months we'll have a clear trend of how crime is going, and this is to complement what we are already doing. This is not going to take all that we do as a complementary to add up to what we're doing.
Tesano Divisional Police Commander Chief Superintendent Odro Aminin says the police is determined to guarantee the safety of residents of Achimota Mile 7, where criminal activities are rampant. He says his men have been assigned to patrol the area every night and urge residents to play their part by being vigilant.
The commanders, we are involved in patrolling within Mile 7 area, not Mile 7 alone, Tesano Division. We are all involved. We get ourselves involved, the district commanders, that is Mile 7 district commander and his crime officer, Tesano district commander and his crime officer, myself, the divisional commander and my crime officer, and then Achimota School District, the district commander and her crime officer. We are all now involved in patrolling the area during the night, so we ensure that the criminal activities goes.
The magazine will soon be distributed in Accra and Tema for free. Ifwa Evans Chinwich reports for Joy News.
The irresponsibility of the Bank of Ghana in the past is a reason for the crisis in the banking sector. That's according to President Akufo-Addo, as government starts the process to agree on how much money is required to ensure protection of depositors' funds. Government picked up a bill of 13 billion cedis following the collapse of the 7 indigenous banks last year. And it's unclear how much more the state must pay for the 23 savings and loans companies that were declared insolvent last week, leading to the revocation of their licenses by the central bank. Addressing members of the Council of State, President Akufo-Addo said the regulatory bodies have let the country down by their lapses.
My own belief is that apart from exhortations, we need also to strengthen the institutional arrangements, because many of these things that happen are the result of delinquency on the part of the state itself. I mean, this famous banking scandal, which has engulfed all of us. If the Bank of Ghana in the years before had acted responsibly and dealt with some of these issues like it should have done, we'd never have got to the situation where we are now. But it was lax. And as a result, look at the amounts of monies that the public exchequer. On the first phase of the banking scandal, 13 billion cedis had to come from public funds to support the industry and to make sure that depositors' funds were secured. 13 billion cedis. Finding 13 billion cedis to support my budget is a major problem for me. Yet this is the amount of money. I'm not quite sure what the figure is when it comes to this latest savings and loans. I don't know whether any of you have the figure, but that also is bound to be another large sum of money that is going, and it is a result of delinquency in the manner in which the central bank regulations were enforced.
Now, saying at the presidency, and the news is that you could spend a minimum of 15 and maximum of 25 years in prison if caught engaging in illegal mining, also known as galamsey. An amendment to the mining law passed by Parliament last month and assented to by the President on Monday provides stiffer punishment also for foreigners engaged in the trade. Explaining the rationale behind the amendment, President Akufo-Addo said the uncooperative attitude of some judges in the fight against illegal mining forced government to initiate the legislation, which now essentially takes away the discretionary powers of judges on matters relating to illegal mining.
It was brought to me yesterday for my assent, so it is now law. But the Parliament has amended the mining law and heightened considerably the penalties for those engaged in illegal mining in the so-called galamsey. We're talking about minimum sentences of 15 years, maximum 25 years. We have increased the punishment for foreigners who intervene illegally in this industry. We've had to take away some of the discretion of the judges. Largely because, Madam, with the greatest of respect, they're not cooperating on these matters. Yes, people are caught, flagrant acts, they're taken to court, granted bail. And then at the end of the day, they disappear, etc. A lot of these Chinese people who are caught, they've been brought to court, they're granted bail, we don't hear of them again, only to hear that they have resurfaced in the country. So we felt it was important to take away the discretion in the judges. It's unfortunate that that should be so, because all of us should be able to trust the judges also to do their bit in stamping out crime and its consequences in our society. But that doesn't turn out to be the case. So this is another important step that we've taken in this fight against galamsey.
Now, the car power ship relocated to Takrady in the Western region will have to wait for about 4 weeks before it can access gas to generate electricity. Engineers during the period will be working to complete critical components that will enable the flow of gas to the plant from Ghana Gas. Minister for Energy John Peter, during an inspection tour of the onshore terminal station at Esipong, described the work done so far as impressive despite some technical challenges that came up. Operators of the 470 megawatt capacity plant, however, hope to resume electricity generation using heavy fuel oil by the end of August. In Thalia Constance report is read to you.
Power ship, which had been docked at Tema for the past few years, finally set sail to Takrady last Thursday and docked at Sekondi the following day. The minister's visit Tuesday morning was to inspect progress of work on its tie-in to pipelines from Ghana Gas. About 75% of work on the onshore terminal station at Esipong is done, and the minister is hopeful it will be completed on schedule.
There have been some few problems, as you might rightly heard me. It's because of little delays in terms of having the first gas. Now that the car power is available here, we need to quickly connect it to first gas. Whilst it is here, it will still feed on heavy fuel for some short period. But the quicker we move to first gas, the better it is for us. The pipelines for the gas have been completed, the transmission lines are in place, but at the OTS, there are certain things that need to be done, where the gas will have to be retreated in terms of heating and bringing the pressure down. You know, from the TRS, the pressure is quite high, we need to bring it down at the OTS. So these are little things that will need to be done.
Amandi Construction Limited, the company connecting the 10-kilometer pipeline and regulating station at Abuazi to Sekondi Naval Base, where the power ship is docked, says its engineers are working tirelessly to complete the project by September this year.
There is the pipeline, which we are meeting the targets fully, even though there was a very complicated operation of doing an offshore pipeline. That was a tremendous success. Except for that, we have stations that to do processing. Now those stations usually takes years to build because there's a lot of items, a lot of things to do. Now the logistic behind that is enormous. And we are putting every resource and every effort that we have in order to meet those targets.
Managing Director of Car Power Ship Ghana Limited, Volkan Buyik-Biksa, explains until the completion of the tie-in, however, the car power ship will be feeding on heavy fuel to generate electricity.
Now, Ghana could be losing thousands, if not millions, of cedis to smugglers at various unapproved routes at the Lubu border. The smugglers who transport goods at a fee for people looking to evade duties Other approved routes have been emboldened by the lack of logistics on the part of immigration and customs officials stationed there. You will hear from Acting Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, who says the smugglers mock their inability to arrest them. But before that, here is Western Regional Correspondent Inathalia Kwanzaa, who traveled through 6 out of 10 unapproved routes and interacted with some of the smugglers who show no sign of fear for immigration officers.
I am here at Cocoville, one of the numerous unapproved routes to and from Ghana to neighboring Ivory Coast at Alubo in the Jomoro district of the Western region. It is business as usual, and my camera captures 3 young men in a canoe fully packed with rice and other goods, paddling towards what they call their landing site. At the bank of the river Tano, another group of young men load bags of rice into a tricycle. They tell me they had been contracted by a shop operator in Takrade to buy these bags of rice from Ivory Coast and use this route to evade duties they consider too expensive. They seem unperturbed by our presence and make no attempt to stop. We learn from the community this illegal business is the norm here and big business as well.
That rice and oil and coal and many more. Yes, sometimes we bring them because they said Cote d'Ivoire rice is cheap. That is why they send out the money, we go there to buy them, bring it here. We pass here because of the duty that they were doing at border side. It's very high, it's very expensive, so people can't do the duty. They used to pass this way. So if the government can reduce the duty for them, they also can pass that place. So that's the reason why you saw them passing this river, through this river, enter the country.
I want small money, then go to school. That's why I'm here.
Is this place an approved route?
No, it's not approved. Because what I know that this place is like illegal place that you wish.
Theophilus Annan is a resident here. He takes few minutes off his quiet time here at the riverside to walk me through how goods are transported here every day to and from Ghana and Ivory Coast.
Okay, when they close the border, people would like to use this route to go to wherever they want to go because of time. So when they get there, those guys over there, they will cross them and collect some money from them.
Daily basis, can you estimate the number of people who move in and out?
For there are many, to be frank with you. I can't tell you a specific number, but there are many, especially market days, for instance, and in the evening.
I have come to Cocoa Town, about 10 minutes drive from Cocoville. Here, I meet a queue of canoe paddlers waiting to offer transportation service to anyone who wants to smuggle goods from Ghana to Ivory Coast. Their destination from here is usually an Ivorian community called French Nungwa. This is River Tando, and it is the boundary between Alubo community known as Cocoa Town and French Nungwa. This happens to be a no man's land. We are going to get to the side of the river and see if we can get some Ivorians coming down. An Okada driver, Kwekunimo, not his real name, takes me to French Nungwa. He tells me unapproved routes here in Cocoa Town are as busy as the main Alubo border. He says the people who transport the goods have tactical means of frustrating immigration and customs officials on the river, since the officials do not have a speedboat to chase after them.
For the comparison of the borders, like I said, Alubo is so effective, but one of two things,
For residents here, the unapproved routes have become hubs of economic activities, boosting their local economy. They cannot be bothered about any negative impacts.
Economically, this route is very important to this community and Ghana as a whole. To be sincere to you, this route has helped this community a lot economically. We don't have a single day whereby a car will not come from Cote d'Ivoire.
It is 30 minutes after 7 p.m. and the main Alubo border is closed. But in the thick of the darkness, I see people busily transporting goods and persons to the river tunnel. I have been informed illegal transporters like these stay on the river till 12 a.m.
They were afraid. They were afraid to pass here. So we try to convince them so that they can pass and go. We also can get our chop money from that place. So because of there is no work.
This story will be told over and over, but without the necessary logistics, border officials will check those who choose to use the approved border, and the unapproved route will remain hubs for smugglers and traffickers. In Athalia Kwanza, Joy News, Western Region.
Now, the Acting Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection at the Lubu border is Edward Osei, and he has been responding to the issue. He says lack of logistics, especially speedboats, has made them a laughingstock to the smugglers who sometimes mock them. He however says they have a plan to deal with them.
We have a very difficult terrain. You see, the terrain that we operate, water bodies, lagoons and things of that nature. And so without the requisite gadgets like speedboats to track them, it becomes very difficult. One funny thing is that when you see them coming with goods, you become helpless. On a very good day, they will just give you a wave, just wave at you. There is nothing that you can do because you can't jump into the river and then make any arrests. What we do is that strategically, we do snap checks, or we get ourselves positioned at places where, after using the river for their smuggling activities, we clamp on them and then arrest them. That is the option available to us.
Customs and Border Protection at the Elibo border, Edward Osei, tells me the smugglers even have the infantry to wave or hoot at them because they do not have speedboats to pursue them when they find them doing their illegal businesses.
We have a very difficult terrain. You see, the terrain that we operate, water bodies, lagoons and things of that nature. And so without the requisite gadgets like speedboats to track them, it becomes very difficult. One funny thing is that when you see them coming with goods, you become helpless. On a very good day, they will just give you a wave, just wave at you. There is nothing that you can do because you can't jump into the river and then make any arrests. On a very bad day, they will shoot at you. We have wished that we are provided with speedboats to be able to thwart their efforts. But without that, what we do is that strategically, we do snap checks, or we get ourselves positioned at places where, after using the river for their smuggling activities, we clamp on them and then arrest them. That is the option available.
Leadership of the Palm Oil Development Association is warning many local agriculture producers may soon be out of business if government does not review the 50% benchmark value reduction of imports introduced last year. They say the situation has led to the flooding of the Ghanaian market with cheap foreign products. At a meeting with President Akufo-Addo, President of the association, Samuel Avala, demanded government discriminate in the application of the law to protect local industries. He warned the planting for export for rural development may not be realized if the trend continues.
We are not against the policy. In fact, it's a good policy. However, we think that the policy should be, its implementation should be discriminatory. Those commodities that we can produce locally and do have the potential to do so, especially where we are a net importer, then those commodities, and specifically in our case, edible oil, should be exempted from the policy. What that has done to our industry and is beginning to take a toll on us is that the imports are flooding in. And I'm sure now that we have crossed half of the year, getting to Christmas, we will even see it more overwhelming. And when that happens, or as it has started happening, our refineries cannot also pull the palm oil from the mills. And when the mills cannot produce or cannot buy palm fruits from the farmers, then the farmers too cannot sell their fruits. So the ripple effect goes across the entire value chain.
Food and Agriculture Minister Dr. Usuefi Ekoto said a technical committee has been set up to review the policy and advise government on strategies to make the agricultural industry vibrant.
Basically, apart from the 50% policy which is just coming and is causing flooding of our markets, we're already having original problems with the reclassification and all that was happening at the ports. So it comes to me as a great source of worry that this policy, which is trying to help to liberalize our international trade, is causing such harm to our industry. And I'm sure that the Deputy Minister will convey these concerns to his minister and see what we can do. And it's a shame that with all the potential that Ghana has, we are still struggling with the industry here. The essence of planting for export and rural development is very much what you've been doing with your careers, that we should be able to bring selected group of tree crops to be able to give us more than enough money in this country to live comfortably. And oil palm is one of them. There are 6 that we've chosen, but there could be 20, 30, but we're just focusing on these 6. The response has been excellent. For the first time in the history of agricultural policy, we're able to link up with local political administrators in the districts to help us to produce the seedlings, to give them free of charge to the farmers, and it's working like magic.
President Akufo-Addo indicated his government's resolve to ensure policies implemented are sympathetic to the concerns of Ghanaians and local industries.
Overall posture of my government is to be very sympathetic to your development. And I think it will make a lot of sense for Ghana if we could find a consensus and a meeting of minds on how to address the challenges that face you, because ultimately we will be the big gainers of it. The exemption clearly is one of the first things that this committee will have to come to grips with and make some recommendations for us. But you should go away from this meeting here with a very clear message. We are going to get engaged with you to try and develop an effective roadmap for the development of the oil palm industry in Ghana. There's a lot of money to be made for it in Ghana, a lot of employment that it can generate. There's a lot of good business for you and your members to do with the developed industry. So on all counts, you should end up as winners of today's meeting.
And that's it. I'm Israel. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good night.